Ladies and gentlemen, as Daryl mentioned earlier, my name is Tony Bell. I'm very pleased to be here today to introduce you to Justin. He's a teacher by training, currently a member of Parliament for a riding in Montreal. With help from people like you, the next leader of the Liberal Party of Canada.
It's a real pleasure to be out here today. Can we turn this off? Hello?
The red lights.
Hello? There we go. It's a real pleasure to be back here in Red Deer today. Really impressed and pleased to see so many people come out. And what I get the sense across the country is that people are actually interested in seeing politics be positive once again. There's a tremendous cynicism right across the country about where we're going and about the capacity of our political forces to actually make a difference or get it right. But Canadians are tired of that cynicism. We're tired of being stuck in a model where we vote against. We sit on the left and we vote against the right. We sit on the right, we vote against the left. We're not actually voting for something anymore. We're not engaging as communities in the kinds of discussions that are going to bring us forward. And that suits, unfortunately, some people very well. The politics of division can be very effective. You pick and choose the regions or the communities you want to reach out to. You pick and choose the kind of folks who are likely to vote for you. You identify them, you bring them out. And, as we've seen, you can get a majority through the politics of that kind of division. Unfortunately, what we've also seen is you don't get to govern the country in a way that is inclusive and long-term once you've so divided us against ourselves. We are the one country in the world that has figured it out. How to be strong, not in spite of our differences, but because of those differences. We are bound together from coast to coast to coast by a shared set of ideals and values that see their articulation into policies and solutions vary from region to region, from community to community, but we are all together in this, together. And if over the past years we've had political leadership that's been very effective at dividing people, it's not so much because, of the cleverness of the dividers or of the strategies of Karl Rovian-style politics, but because something's changing in Canada. Over the past 30 years, we've seen a breakdown of one of the basic promises, one of the basic premises that has always made this country strong. You see, wherever you came from, or your ancestors came from, we came to this land that is too big, too empty, and too dang cold for too many months of the year. And we've learned that yes, we need to lean on each other, but yes, we need to work hard. And through that hard work, we've been able to generate success, to care for ourselves, to build a life, but mostly to create greater opportunities for our children than we ourselves received from our parents. Now, our capacity to continue to do that is being curtailed. Right now, even though we've had extraordinary growth in this country, over the past 30 years, the Canadian economy has more than doubled in size. We've had more than 100% growth rate. But in that same period of time, middle-class Canadians have seen their average incomes rise by only 13%. So costs are going up while incomes are stagnating, which means personal and household debt is exploding. And for the very first time ever, we have a generation of people that does not feel, unfortunately with good reason, that our kids are going to benefit from more opportunities and greater quality of life than we will. And that's a breakdown of what has always been. Our grandparents worked hard and left opportunities, better opportunities for our parents, and our parents worked hard and left great opportunities for us. And now suddenly we don't get to pass that along. That's extremely destabilizing. And not just on an economic level. Because yes, for an economy to be strong in this era, it's not just about having big businesses succeed. It's about making sure that the vast majority of Canadians who work hard week in and week out to support their families, Canadians of the middle class, participate in the success that this country is generating. And unfortunately, it's getting harder and harder. So we need to turn that around, not just for those economic reasons, but because as soon as we start to worry that maybe this country isn't giving us the opportunities and the future that it used to through our hard work, it's very easy to be turned against one another. Have politicians pick and choose to play the East against the West, urban folks against rural folks, play within communities, foster envy and insecurity. It's always been a very effective way of getting elected. But we need to be better than just focusing on getting elected. We need to be focusing on building a stronger country. We need to be focused on creating the kinds of solutions that we need for our prosperity here and that Canada can once again share with the world. These are the things we need to be doing, and we haven't been doing them. Over the past few years, we've seen politicians increasingly become spokespeople for the Prime Minister's office in their ridings. That's what your local MPs tend to be now. Someone whose job is to represent Ottawa here in Red Deer. Well, that's completely backwards. Because the job of a public servant, of a politician, of a member of Parliament, is to be the voice for the community in Ottawa. And we've gotten away from that. And we've allowed ourselves to slip away from that through a disengagement, a cynicism, a sense of throwing up our hands and saying, you know what, nothing's going to change, no matter who I vote for, no matter who I get involved in, or I get involved with. And that in itself is why I'm so excited about this leadership campaign. Because I'm getting out across the country, small towns and rural areas, to talk about the fact that if we're going to rise to meet the challenges of the coming years and decades are going to offer us, we have to start working together. That's why the Liberal Party has decided that we're going to trust Canadians. We are going to actually ask for people's help to do one of the most important things that a federal party can do, which is to pick the next leader. Instead of reaching out to Liberals, people who have a membership, shiny red membership card, paid their membership dues and their annual fees of $10, we've said, no. This is too important to just count on Liberals to do it. We need the help of Canadians. So we're now opening up our leadership race to anyone who could imagine that sometime in the future there might be a possibility of them perhaps even thinking about voting Liberal. That's good enough for us. We want you to come in and make sure that we get the choice right this time. So we have free sign-up sheets. I think they're somewhere in the back. We have a website you can come and sign up on for free. Justin.ca. Yes, I'm the Justin in Canada. And you can make sure that your voice is heard. That you have a say in how we shape our politics. But more than that, we need you to get involved. Because the challenges we're facing are not going to be solved by anyone from top down anymore. Certainly not without the active engagement and participation of hopeful, optimistic, active community builders and citizens. Citizenship is not just about paying your taxes and voting and obeying the law. Citizenship is about understanding your power as an individual to shape the community you're part of. Whether it's the school community, or the neighborhood, or municipal politics, or even all the way up to federal politics, your voice matters. And the way we begin to engage once again is at the center of that. Because the Liberal Party's job between now and the next election is not to convince you that we have the best plan and the best vision and the best proposal for how we're going forward. It is that. But before we can even do that, we have to remind Canadians that political parties and governments are supposed to be in the vision build business, are supposed to be offering an optimistic view of the coming years and a series of steps on how to get there. We don't believe that anymore. And we're allowing ourselves to get further and further away from the kinds of substantive, in some cases difficult, solutions we're going to have to bring forward. We're accepting band-aid solutions to long-term problems. As long as they hold till the next electoral cycle, that's good enough for most of these politicians. People will sell you simple soundbite answers to complex, difficult questions. This is not good enough. We need to understand that the challenges we're facing is going to require the very best of all of us. But throughout Canada's history, we've stepped up. We have always been willing to carve success out of difficult circumstances. We have always been willing to demand more, and that's what we need to do now. We need to demand more of our political leadership, of our representatives. We need to demand more of our neighbors and our communities. But mostly, we need to once more demand more of ourselves. Our voices, our solutions, our hope, our engagement, collectively, is all that we're going to be able to use to respond to the tremendous challenges of the coming years will bring. And the more we continue to allow ourselves to be divided, the more we continue to vote for brands, not values, the more we continue to allow our votes and our communities to be taken for granted, the further we get from the kind of country we want to build, we can build, and we need to leave to our children and grandchildren. Thank you very much. So a big part of doing politics differently is about taking questions. None of you were vetted. We didn't check to see if you had a Facebook picture with Mr. Harper before you came through the door. You're welcome to challenge me or ask me about any number of issues that are important to you. Not because I have the perfect answer that I'm going to be able to convince you with, but because the process of citizens asking tough questions of the people who hope to be worthy of serving and representing them is and needs to be an essential piece of how we move forward in politics. So we have about 10-15 minutes, and I'm glad to turn it over to you now. Who has a challenge or a question? Yes, sir.
Yeah. The Liberal Party last year changed their stance on marijuana legalization. So what are you realistically going to try and push for when it comes to cannabis legalization?
I'm going to push for legalization of cannabis, meaning tax and regulation. And the group that really convinced me of it, I was proud that the Liberal Party moved forward on it at the last policy convention, but the group that really convinced me that it was something to take seriously was a group of self-styled soccer moms who were not users of cannabis, who weren't pot smokers, but who said, you know what? It's really important that we make sure that we keep pot out of the hands of our kids. And when it's illegal and therefore available only through the black market, someone pushing it doesn't ask for ID, doesn't check whether the person's 15 or 20 or 25, just wants to make the sale. And if we start controlling it, taxing it, not only do we remove it from the control of gangs who are making a tremendous amount of money off of this illegal substance, but we actually are in a better position to control it, to regulate it, and to make sure that, like our liquor laws or tobacco laws, young people find it much more difficult to access. We also have to be careful that we're not encouraging people to use it more, because as much as it may not be as bad for you as alcohol or tobacco, it's still not a health food supplement. We have to be smart about how we do it. But I think we can comfortably say that the current war on drugs model, as applied to pot, hasn't worked and doesn't work. And that's why the Liberal Party is committed to moving not just towards decriminalization, but tax and regulation, legalization of marijuana following the next election. Thank you very much. Next question. Yeah.
Mental health care has been a major issue, and I think, especially with the justice system and things like that, people getting mental health care prior to committing an offense is very important. Is that going to be a major area in your platform, is getting people access to mental health care when they need it?
I think we're long overdue for a comprehensive strategy around mental health in this country. One of the things that I'm incredibly proud of is, well, obviously, most places across the country, most places I say, people come up to me and tell me how great my dad was. Most places. There are a few places they know. And I've heard that all my life, or at least how much they respected him, or how much of an impact he had. Over the past few years, as many people, if not more, have started to come up to me to tell me just how much of an impact my mum has had. And I'm so proud of her. Her courage in sharing her struggles with her bipolarity, challenges that she sees around mental health in this country, and the path towards solutions has been a huge inspiration to me. And we need to understand that as a matter of economic and public policy, as well as security and law and order, we have to start addressing the challenges around mental health. It's too much of a cost on so many levels to our society that we do not properly engage with it. And I have a friend who was a Liberal candidate in the last election, named Stan Kutcher out of Halifax, who's one of the world experts on it. And one of the approaches he's had, which I'm really excited about, is not about just focusing on healthcare professionals as being the front line for mental health, but as he's done work in places like Bosnia that have gone through tremendous upheavals and challenges, and he's working on resilience within communities to mental challenges. In situations like that, one of the things he was very good at, and you discovered was very powerful, is you start reaching out and you train not just healthcare professionals to be better at helping and diagnosing mental issues, but you train police officers and teachers and hairdressers and cafeteria workers, people who have interactions with the public on a general basis, and if you give them tools about diagnosing, about helping, about responding, about encouraging to seek help and get treatment, and helping directly people who suffer from mental illnesses, you can have extraordinary positive responses with very little costs associated with it. And there are all sorts of tremendous solutions out there that we have to look at as a saver not just of money, but of lives. And that is why the Liberal Party platform will include a comprehensive approach on mental health and getting people the help they need so that they can lead productive, happy, successful lives despite any challenges that they may face. Thank you very much for bringing me in. one last quick question, and then I'll come down and say hi to people and take a few pictures and talk to the media and do all the things that I have to do. One last quick question. Yes?
What do you feel about the current tough on crime agenda?
I think tough on crime is probably the wrong slogan. Because tough on crime, we all want to hear that. Oh yes, that terrible criminal, let's be tough on them. That's, you know, there's a tremendous fear that is being encouraged out there, even though violent crime is on the decrease. We're building more prisons, even though criminals are causing less and less crime. But the reality is, instead of saying tough on crime, what I like to talk about is less crime. And in order to get less crime, it's not about building more prisons. It's about creating more community police officers. It's about investing in schools and after-school programs and community centers. It's about making sure that the choices that end up leading too many of our young people or our vulnerable and marginalized communities to turn towards crime because they have no other options, to develop other options. And that's harder. It's not as easy to sell in a jingle of, we're going to crack down on criminals. But what we want is not tougher on criminals. What we want is fewer and fewer criminals. That's the only way to move forward, and that takes the courage to put forward real solutions and not just easy solutions. Thank you very much, Red Deer, for so many of you coming out today. I encourage you all to sign up and get involved and help us get this country back on track. Merci beaucoup.